so is the mic on, or am I just having a loud mouth? Are we good?
Yeah, I think.
All right, well, first off, thank you all so much for the warm welcome that you all gave me and my family here today. Oh, my bride is telling me it is not probably on.
No, it's not.
It's not. Would you?
There's a little switch on the top.
This is why I always bring, backup on it, because, hey, there we go. So, good morning. My name is Chris Runke, and I'm here with Show Me Christian Youth Home. And you all are probably sitting there wondering this main question. Why am I here? Not just why is this tall guy up here who doesn't seem to stop talking, which there's a reason for that. When I was younger, I got an Indian nickname. This has been going on for a while. My Indian nickname was Little Running Mouth. So I apologize that this is who I am. I should warn you, I suffer from ADOS. Anybody here with ADOS? That's attention deficit. Ooh, shiny. So my mind keeps going, but don't worry, I have lots of slides up here with information. So if I get off track, we just point up there and we go back. And I brought the boss and we're good to go. I'm here with Show Me Christian Youth Home, but I'm going to be real honest with you. Today's a kingdom message. Here, let me see if hey, there we go. The way I like to look at it, I'm the messenger. If we look in the Old Testament and we look at the New Testament, we look at the letters of Paul and how the early church worked. The church would get together and they would see a cause and they would say, okay, something needs to be done about this. Just like this church came together and from its beginning saw a cause of kids out there who, if nobody stepped in, what was going to happen to them? First, it started with a children's home in Indiana, but then later, you all adopted Show Me into your family. About 25 years ago, I found out on that. And as in the Bible, where that messenger would go out and they would say, okay, we're going to send a few to take care of this. Part of it was that person would come back and say, here's what God's doing. Here's what we've been taught and are learning from this. And so that's what I'm here today to do. When you think about me at Show Me, I'm kind of like the uncle. Not just the crazy uncle that everybody has in their family, that it's, oh, Uncle Chris. But, I'm not a house parent. So I don't have the 6 to 10 kids within the home to watch over. For some reason, they thought the responsibility and maturity level, they didn't want to give me 6 to 10 kids. I don't know on that one. But I'm the uncle. I can invest and build in these kids' relationships, not because I have to, but because I want to. And that makes a huge difference. You see, make no doubt about it, every child and every person, to some degree, they're weighing your motives. They're weighing not just your words, but as it says there, let us not merely say we love each other, let us show the truth by our actions. I remember when I was a youth pastor for the Salvation Army, and I had this young man come up to me, and we were working with these inner city youth, and so we were doing basketball and things like that, and he came up to me one day, and he goes, this was on a Thursday, and he goes, Mr. Chris, are you here because you really care about me and you want to be, or because you're paid to be? Wow. It's really tough. But you see, in these kids' minds, they were thinking about that. I looked at him and I told him, by what I'm paid, that covered till Monday. I'm here on Thursday, it's because of you on that. They're measuring into this. As I go through on different parts of the sermon, I was thinking, well, what's my intro going to be today? And as I walked through, God gave me the intro. See, I'm also here to tell you about what God's doing in this church and that I see. You have a church that you don't necessarily have that pastor that's your identity around. But you're still searching for that core group, that foundation, which you see right here. You have people gentlemen who literally, when I gave him a compliment on his shirt, offered me the shirt off his back. To other people who were, telling me that 36 schools growing up, and you were wondering why they're so friendly on different things. God knew each of the people. To other people who They could go anywhere, but this is family to them and they want to be here. God is doing some amazing things here. What I hope to do today is to share a little bit of my testimony, the lessons the kids have taught me at Show Me. But here's the other thing, and this is partly a warning too. I'm not going to be here next week. What I'm hoping to do is partly give the message that I believe the Holy Spirit has. And part of that's to make you feel uncomfortable, to make you, stir a little bit. I don't have to worry. Are you going to like me next week or invite me back? So, I already know the answer, strangely enough. I know. But before we get started, if we can just bow our heads and pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today and we ask the Spirit to fall over us. Open our eyes, our ears, our minds to your kingdom. Not to the way we see the world or we want the world, but as we're supposed to serve the world. Help us to see that nothing happens by accident, that you created us through all of these things for a very important purpose. Help us to see that and then have the strength to take that step of faith to reach our full reason we were created. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen. Today, the scripture we're going to read, it comes from John 9. If you have your Bibles, go ahead and turn to it. Otherwise, here up on the screen. So as Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. Rabbi, his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his sins or his parents' sins? It was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, Jesus answered. This happened so that the power of God could be seen in him. We must quickly carry out the task assigned us by the one who sent us. The night is coming, and then no work can be done. But while I'm here in the world, I am the light of the world. Then he spit on the ground, made mud with the saliva, and spread the mud over the blind man's eyes. He told him, go and wash yourselves in the pool of Siloam. Siloam meaning sent. So the man went and washed and came back seeing. Now, in John chapter 9, this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to kind of give you what my mom would call the Reader's Digest version. So we're going to go through a couple of parts, but then your homework, and yes, you guys do have homework, that through this week I challenge you to read on John chapter 9 to see what God says specifically to you. But so after this happened, the next part is this man went home, and the people in his community, they saw him, and they're just head scratching. Is this the guy? Is this the guy that we've known for so long? They could not believe it because of the change they saw in this. And then he went to his parents. And his parents, they knew it was him. And they saw the change, but how? How could this happen? And as people are starting to talk and they're saying, what's going on? The religious authorities, the Pharisees and others heard about this. And they didn't do it. And they're like, whoa. Something good happening here and powerful, and it's not us. So if it's not us doing it, then it has to be not God working here. So they came in and even started to interrogate this person because they didn't want him saying what really happened with it because it wouldn't make them look good. Well, eventually, his parents, because if they answer wrong, they're going to get kicked out of the synagogue. And then they came and so they said, no, you got to ask him. He's the one, because he was an adult. So they go and put pressure on him. Well, Jesus hears this, that this guy's in this situation, and he comes back. So we're going to jump ahead now to 9:35. So Jesus heard that they'd thrown him out. And when they found him, he said, do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? The man asked. Tell me so that I may believe in him. Jesus said, you have seen him. In fact, he's the one speaking with you. Then the man said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. Jesus said, for judgment I have come into the world so that the blind will see, and those who will see will become blind. Now some Pharisees were here with him and heard him say this and asked, what? Are we blind too? Jesus said, if you were blind, you'd not be guilty of your sin. But now that you claim you see, your guilt remains. I really love this verse, and it keeps speaking to me more and more as I go through this chapter and these different parts. One of the reasons I first love this verse is it shows Jesus is bilingual, which is a very important thing within our family too. Because see, in our house you have to speak English first, but if you're going to survive, you better speak sarcasm. And there, where Jesus was talking to those Pharisees, and they're like, "Are we blind?" Yeah, you kind of are on it. Because see, as we go through different things, we don't want to look at it in the same way. Are we blind? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. Well, this man was blind. So what is blindness? Well, he wasn't blind by anything that he did. He was blind from birth. But it's a situation he had to live with. Many people saw him, and he's so affected by this blindness that his well-being depends on others. But a lot of people, they walk on by because, well, maybe somebody else will take care of that rather than them. Children are born blind too, if we think about it. They're some of the most vulnerable and dependent out there, not by their choice. They have to be taught to see how a child becomes and acts. I mean, my wife's reminded me a couple times with my kids when I'm ready to pull my hair out at them. She's like, "Minnie, on that?" Because they emulate how we are. Children, caught in the generational cycle. But here's something we've got to ask ourselves, just like he did with the Pharisees there. And it's not an easy answer to go through. Are we blind? And the answer is yes, when we try to deceive ourselves. I still remember when I would say my faith became my own. Somebody challenged me, "Do you know Christ, or do you just know of him?" When you say Christ is your Lord and Savior, is it just a name you call him or a place you put him in your life? See, when we play Christian, but we still want to rule our life, and we start bringing in the I need to do this. I don't want to on this part. Then we're still trying to rule our lives. We're like the Pharisees when we come in and we think we know all the answers. Rather than the disciples are sitting there and they're like, "Well, in the Bible, it says that the sin must be the sins of the father and this and this." So they see it and they're automatically going, "Well, it's got to be this. I know the answer." When we do that, we deceive ourselves and we're blind. So what's the response to blindness? Well, let's look at how the disciples did. When they saw the blindness, they answered like a lot of us do. And they said, "Why? Why is he blind?" Well, what's behind that word there? When we ask the why, that allows us to say kind of a cause and effect thing. Well, if they did this, if he didn't sin, then he wouldn't have this happen. Or because I didn't do this, that's why I don't have to have these situations. It allowed them to feel superior and feel a little bit of the power on there. Also, within the why or the other things, wanted it to not, when I say it, wanted it to be somebody else's fault in there. Again, it's kind of making themselves feel better. But also sometimes when we ask the why, it's because, I don't want to say we're feeling sorry for ourselves, but we don't want to accept it. I'm part of that. Jesus looked at it and he said, no, you're asking the wrong question. He said it's not about the why. It's about the how. How can God be glorified by this? See, I talked about a little bit about, I was going to talk about my testimony. And part of the way that I sometimes start out is, I also tell you, part of the reason I'm here today is because when you see somebody as crazy, off-key, with so many flaws as I have in it, you'll be leaving here going, wow, at least I am not like that guy. I feel so much better about myself in there. And because here it is, what could God do with the kid that in school, any teachers in here, by the way? Okay, first off, thank you for your mission on that and what you're doing. I have to apologize for all the kids like me. I was the kid in school that talked so much the teacher could not just move him to a different place because he would still keep talking on that, even if you moved him by himself, right? I was the kid that didn't know a stranger. You know, even little, I would run up and go talk to strangers and sit on their laps and make friends. And you can imagine for my mom how that felt on there. I was the kid who had trouble paying attention because my mind's going here, 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 here. How can God use that, right? Why? I remember how many times in school I sat there and went, why? Why is it so hard for me not to be like this other student who can just sit there and open a book and sit still? Why? How many of us in our life, as we look through some of the things we've struggled with, that's the first thing we want to ask. Why? Why, God? See, one of the reasons, too, that's tough about that question is we're almost assuming that we know better than God. Why am I here today? Part of the reason? Broken down van and a police officer. Wait a minute, that sounds a little crazy. 25 years ago, a van broke down for a show me that was going up on a mission trip. We're going up to Michigan. And you all stepped forward when we needed a place to stay. If that didn't break down, if we didn't have problems, we wouldn't have had this connection. Why are we here? Yesterday, we got pulled over by a police officer. Not because we were speeding or anything else like that. We had a taillight out, and it was in Palmino, or what was it? Piatone, I think is what it was, about 15, 20 miles from here. And it was a great thing, because we were like, oh, officer, well, we were following Google, which was going to take us down to Chicago Heights. And he's like, no, don't go through the Heights at 11 o'clock at night. No. So he gave us, the perfect directions to get here. Some of these mistakes in there. But look in your life. How many times have you asked for the why that job didn't come through? Or why that relationship? Or why? My father committed suicide right before I was 4 years old. Growing up, my mom remarried at 6, was divorced at 12. I had so many different things going on that here you have this kid that everybody's sitting there going, oh, poor you, poor you. And for a long time, I listened to him and said, the why, the why, the why. When things really turned around in my life was when I stopped feeling sorry for myself. And I realized if I trusted God, if God was who he said he was, maybe there was a reason for it. And I started to go, all those other kids, growing up, a young boy, you're wanting to know, what kind of man am I going to be? What kind of father, husband? And you're looking for those examples. And for so many people, they have one example. Oh, I'm going to be like this. I'm going to wear my socks. I'm going to pull up my pants too high. I'm going to have to watch, college football on Saturday and, be talking about all the high school days and be grumpy about going to my job. And that's what I'm going to be. Well, because I didn't have a father. I didn't have that. I could go, I love the way that he would be willing to give the shirt off his back on that. And I love the way that person would, sees everybody as a friend and would talk to him. I like his sense of humor and how he calls his wife his bride. And I could put together exactly who I wanted to be. Because how? How can God use that? The next thing in this, Jesus gets down and he picks up the simplest piece, mud. Just what's around us. And then as he gives the power to the instructions, puts it on there, that's what's life transforming. A lot of times we sit there and we think, well, I'm not a brain surgeon, or I'm not this, or, I'm not whatever. We think we have to have all these things together, that it has to be so perfect and complicated before we can act. But it was the power of God using the simplest things. Think in your life, what changed you? I doubt it was some, huge, expensive program. But maybe a simple person that you saw something in their life. Going back to, are we deceiving ourselves? When we are baptized, or when we die to self, and we say, we will live for Christ, the old is gone. That part is dead and gone. And when we come up, what are we called to be? Called to be servants, children, ambassadors. Each of these different roles. And the key to that is within that role. Are they responsible for the results? No. They have to trust. See, to be able to see within these different roles on it, the first step is trust. Do we really believe who God says He is? If you think about all those points that are not perfect within you, realize this. I'm sorry, what's your name? Connor, I apologize. You're one of the young guys, so I kind of see myself where I was at that critical time in you. So I'm picking on you now. I apologize for that, but it's a good thing on that. Connor, do you know that nobody is more qualified to do the mission that God has for Connor than Connor? Do you realize that? Nobody is more qualified. Think of the confidence from that. Now, is that saying that Connor is the best orator in here? Not necessarily. But the mission that Connor's called to is the life of who you are. I sat here and I talked with somebody earlier, and he was telling me about in his life kind of the struggles and some of the hardships or different things that, feeling tossed in the waves in different areas. But because of that, I'm going to pick on you, sorry, with it. These kids or other stuff comes in, and he can see himself and the difference that it made. And he wants to be that difference for them. If he never went through that, it doesn't come in that same way. And you have a higher credibility because of that. When I go out and I talk to these kids that show me who come from all of these different backgrounds, all of a sudden, everything that before was seen as a weakness is an advantage. Because they know, I know what it feels like to grow up without a father. They know, I know what it means I'm part of that struggle. In sharing that weakness, it becomes a strength. See, that's the other thing in Scripture, where it talks about, not like the world says, you have to be perfect, but it's when we show who we are that God can be seen in us. See, you've got to kind of look yourself over and define that path to purpose. All right, you're the next youngest one in here, so I'm picking on you on that. If I had a bag and I tossed it to you and I said, here in it there's a life raft, there's a paddle, and there's a life jacket, and I have a mission for you, what kind of mission do you think it would be? Something with water, maybe crossing over within that area. But at the same time, if I threw a bag to you and I had in it a rope, climbing shoes, some talc powder, what kind of a mission do you think it might be? Some kind on there. So as you look around you and you start to see, God, how are you going to use me? You can start to see, what has God put in you? What are the preparations? When you look at what have you come through in life, what are you passionate about? All of those are part of the preparation on finding your path to purpose. When the kids come out to show me, we have a program called Path to Purpose that helps prepare them and walk them into adulthood. One of the first things we do is they're going to go through a series of tests that says, here's how your brain thinks, here's your interests, here's your spiritual gifts, here's your talents. So they can start to see who I'm made up to be. Well, these are the types of careers I might look into. And then they're going to dig a little deeper each year, doing internships, job shadows, to see, is it the right fit? But it goes over how they were made within it. So as you look through that on the preparation and you start to see who God's put around you, those resources, you'll start to find your path. But here's the most comforting thing. Results, they're not yours. That is not your responsibility. Is it a soldier's responsibility to make sure that, the outcome of the battle is exactly what it is? No. It's a soldier's job to obey. Is it a child's responsibility? Is it an ambassador's? No. And in the same way, we're called to obedience. The song that you picked, that was part of the reason I was smiling too, because, on all of these things, God's message. We're called to this. Step of faith. That's missions. Our mission going forward. One of the things I love about what I'm hearing about this church is one of the things that I love that brought me to Show Me. Be honest. I'm not a big church person. Definitely not a big religion person. All the rules and, you feel like you're part of a club or you have to do this in this way. On the control. But when I read through in the Bible, and especially when I read through in Acts, and you read about when the church grew in some of the hardest times, in some of the most unprepared ways, how did it do it? There wasn't, the 27 books of the New Testament at the time. It wasn't some great leader with great supplies going forward. It's kind of what you see here. It's that core group, that family, that wants the Spirit to lead, that looks around, sees a need, and says, we're going to step forward because there are kids in this community that haven't got a chance to learn about God. So we're going to do it in a fun way so they have a chance to be in here and be a part. It's seeing around and coming together on that. The results being the Spirit's. A lot of times, and I'll be honest with you, as I've grown in my faith walk, there was a time I felt like I read in the Bible, and even if I believed all of those different things, it felt like it was 2,000 years ago. Where's God today? And the sad thing that God showed me is, if I'm only taking steps big enough in Chris's power, because I don't want to fail or I don't want to do something I don't know that I can have some control over, I'm only going to see Chris-sized results. When I start listening and taking a step, even if I don't know if it's possible, but if I know that God's calling me to, I take a God-sized step. I can see a God-sized result. I've seen that time and time again. So what do? This is one of my favorite sayings. I just want to encourage you that, remember, God does not call the qualified, but He qualifies the called. And here's the thing. Make no doubt about it. If you gave your life to Christ, if the Spirit's living in your heart, you are called. It is not just a select few, that it's the professionals on there. So what do? Just as we started on this, God, give us the eyes and the ears. Have a sensitivity to be aware around us at those different connections. You'll be amazed at how God puts it within there. And a boldness to act. When you see that, and you feel that yearning, take that step of faith. But also, learn to remember to measure life by a different standard. How many of us, when we look at how we're doing in life, society says, how happy are we? Or how successful, wealthy are we? How much money or power do we have? And we measure it on that way. When we have those bumps in the road, it feels like, oh, are we taking a step back, or this is a bad thing? But let me put it in a different way. What if we measure life on what is our relationship with God? So if I look back in my life and I look at my father died, when my mom remarried and then got divorced, and when I was searching and I couldn't do it on my own, or when my child was life flighted, or when I lost, there was a job change on there, whatever it was, it seemed at the time those hard points. Those are actually some of the best points in my life, faith-wise, because it couldn't be in my power. So looking at that in your life, I told you today that the message is about the kingdom focus. And I really believe that's why I'm here today. So I'm just briefly going to touch on Show Me. If you have more questions, I'll be back to talk with you. I would love to talk with you. I'd love to hear the stories, the testimonies. That's part of what I do. Why does it make a difference? A lot of kids are the blinds of today. What happens when grandma, who's 80 years old and who's raising 2 young girls, all of a sudden has a stroke? It's not that she doesn't love these kids any less. What happens to them? What happens to kids who are born into a situation not where they're looking for a second chance, but they need a first chance? Or somebody whose mom just isn't mentally capable of raising her? What happens in all of these different kinds of situations? Well, what this church has said is we want to make sure that there's a place. And that's what Show Me is. Instead of saying it's the parents' responsibility, it's the government's responsibility, you say it's our opportunity to show Christ. We do it in a home and family situation. We have programs that work with animals, training of horses, dogs. We have a school that goes at the kids' own pace to all help them catch up. But within all of this, faith is lived 24/7. It's caught. It's not taught. So they see it. The families pick a church to go to. Just as for you, where did you find your faith? Probably from a family member that you saw or things that you were around. Over 50 years, you helped a farm field turn into 10 different homes across the state of Missouri, including our campus. And going back to those other 3 kids, one went on to do, the twins went on to be college athletes because of the sports program and win some of the NCAA titles for their division. The young man who grew up in the inner city just got married, and he's now helping teens like himself. And the young lady whose mom wasn't able to, she's the one who started our Path to Purpose program and grew up at Show Me. If you feel like, as you pray about what is your mission, and let me be real clear on this, your first mission is to your family. Your second mission is here to this community and this church. But if you feel like there's something more and you want to be a part of something like Show Me, and people ask me, where do I start? I'd encourage you, the first thing is to pray. Come by, get a newsletter, flip through it. I try to put a picture of every child at Show Me. And if there's one that jumps out at you, make a commitment to pray for them for 1 month like they're your own. Refer. We have everything from a placement brochure. So if you know of somebody who's in a situation, we want them to know that there's hope. There's no cost to it. We don't take custody of the child. Or you can follow on Facebook or tell others about that. Volunteer. I'm going to be talking about ways groups can come out to be a part. It's a great thing for families to come together. Or if you want to give, there's a few different ways. One is about 10% of our income, instead of people giving birthday gifts or flowers for memorials, they give a gift to a child to have a second chance. Sometimes donate different things. I like to say, if you have something in your house that's blessed you, and you still feel it has blessing in it, but you're no longer using it, tell us, let us know. Or come by and learn a little bit about us. The main reason I'm here today is to say thank you. Thank you for the reason that you're here to be that foundation and that light to the community, to your families, to show them, not tell them, who Christ is. If you get a chance, come by. Our kids have made bookmarks to say thank you to you. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, including if you want to know about our Superhero Club, which is our boosters. This is one of the biggest helps. It's, you say, just like Superman had a big sign that goes up, or Batman when he needed help, Our boosters allow us to mail them 4 times a year if we need extra help, and we promise we won't do it any more than that. And all we ask is that you send in a donation as little as $10 or pray. Thank you for what you are doing in this community. Thank you for the time. Thank you for letting Little Running Mouth run. So, thank you.
I'm going to invite you guys to stand as we close. That was the first time I sang Trust and Obey here, and I've been here a little over 4 years, so it's pretty crazy. So Trust and Obey, and I invite you guys. We're gonna close with the chorus of the song, but think about that. What is God asking you to trust Him with and to be obedient about? Is it helping out with VBS? Is it doing something, encouraging someone? Is it going down to Show Me on a mission trip and spending some time there? Just encourage you guys, as we sing this, to think about what God is calling you to be obedient about. Every blessing you pour out, I turn back to bring. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will sing. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. One more time. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Will you pray with me? Abba Father, thank you so much for Chris and his family coming up here, and thank you for everything that's going on with Show Me, and just the way they're able to not only make a difference in Missouri, but in the world around them too, God. And I pray for our VBS. I pray for the young people that will be here, that you open their hearts and minds, and whatever they're dealing with or struggling with. So many times we assume that kids are just enjoying life, but at a very young age, there's some kids going through a lot, God. And I pray that this week would be a vacation for them, that they can grow closer to you, stronger in you, God. And I pray that we can grow closer to each other as a church, God. As we move forward and make some big decisions, I pray that we can fellowship and be a family. In Jesus' name, amen.
Before you all go, one thing John just said to me, and I feel like it's supposed to be said. For those of you who are wondering about what kind of difference does it make, or maybe even considering, should I help with VBS or not, or should I help on something like Show Me? I want to show you the impact. It's a short 2-minute video, and so you can hear in her own words one of the young ladies you help.
If God is what people are telling me He is, loving, caring, compassionate, and loves me above all else, why would He make an innocent child, His child, go through what I had? I feel like what leadership you have set out to do has actually made an impact. I'm actually starting to find my roots as somebody who can lead. I'm starting to figure out what it takes to be a leader and what I need to do to make myself a better leader. But Sunny is probably the most genuine force on the face of the earth. As I started earning leadership with him, as I started to become his leader, I started to like him more. Gradually, he became my friend. And then he became my best friend. Because I've never felt that kind of love, really. That unconditional love that Sonny gives me every single time I get home. The things that it teaches you, the confidence that you gain, I came here with like no confidence. And now I have confidence that I am a good horse rider, a good leader, a great sister, and a good friend. Now I'm not just a person trying, I'm a person who does, who can do. My name is Journey, and thanks to Leadership U, I'm learning to lead like Jesus.
When she first came out to show me about a year and a half ago, the first words out of her mouth is, "Don't talk to me about God, I'm an atheist." Because how could there be this loving father that you've talked about? Because let me tell you about my father, online. But because of what she sees in your actions and other people's actions, who choose not because they have to, but because they want to show God's love to her, her heart was opened up that about 8 weeks later, she decided that she wanted Christ. Well, this April, she came out to Chicago and did a mission trip and actually spoke at a church. Thank you for being a part of that. So,
Have a blessed week. See you at 6:15.